My name is Neptune, and I'm going to take you on a journey around the world through mouth harps, the different countries, the different sounds, the different characters, the different makers, and sometimes I'll share a few stories with you of my travels as I go along. I've been playing the mouth harp since 2003. I travel the world to find makers of this instrument, bring them back into the World Harps Collection. And for those who attended my workshop today, I also teach you how to play. So thank you for coming. Before I start with the mouth harp, I'm going to go into a little kalimba, or thumb piano, just set the mood. Thumb piano is an instrument that's originally from Africa, and it has multiple tines, and each of these is amplified by an open space, like an acoustic guitar, for example. This one has a jack, so I can plug it in. It's pretty cool. A mouth harp works in a similar way, but in a very different way. Thumb piano, you have multiple tines. You can change the sound according to different strings, as you would say, as a guitar. But a mouth harp is only one. So instead of having a fixed amplifier, my mouth is the amplifier. And as I change the size and shape of my mouth, then I'm able to change the pitch with one single string, or tongue, or reed, as we call it. So the first one I'm going to play is a little morchunga from Nepal. This one is in iron, and it's made by the maker Bhupendra. Now, Nepali morchungas are extremely melodic. When I started playing the mouth harp, I started living in Anjuna as a teenager, hearing psytrance around me left, right, and center. And so my style became very trancy. I'll give you a demo of that later. But I never appreciated the Nepali morchungas very much because I was just playing them too hard. So if you play one very softly with what is known as the melodic breath, something I've really just been getting into these last couple of years, they're exquisite. So for the first one, morchunga. Here's where I get to change mics. So, as I mentioned, a little, just a re-explanation here. This little sound that you can't hear is the only sound that a mouth harp makes. But when I place it in front of my mouth, it gets amplified. All right, so morchungas can be very melodic and very percussive at the same time. There are different styles of playing mouth harp, naturally, but there are so many different mouth harps in the world that every single one has its own unique character. People often ask me, where does the mouth harp come from? Where does it originate? And that's one of the biggest questions that nobody has ever found a true answer to. It's one of the oldest instruments in the world, and it has multiple origins in different areas or different regions of the world, most likely, because you find some very different from each other, and yet some are so similar to each other in shape and style that inevitably trade took mouth harps around the world. For example, in the Americas, it was the English and the French and the Spaniards who brought mouth harps to that continent. So mostly the Asian, European, Southeast Asian continents are where mouth harps traditionally, originally come from, but nobody knows quite where. There have been some numerous archaeological finds. The oldest record of a mouth harp is in a painting in China of a group of musicians. One is holding both of his hands to his mouth. Can't see the instrument, but he's evidently positioned in the exact same way that one playing a mouth harp, and I believe that's 4000 BC or some crazy thing. Check with me later on, I'll tell you the exact number, or the exact date. But yes, mouth harps are ancient trance. Now, sticking in the same geographic region, because we started in Nepal, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to play one from India. This is a morchang. This is made in Rajasthan. In India, we find in Rajasthan, in Gujarat, in Kutch. We find in Assam, made out of bamboo. We find in Tamil Nadu, Karnataka, Kerala. In South India, it's a Carnatic instrument, and in North India, it's a folk instrument. In Assam, it's commonly used in the Bihu tradition, the Bihu festival. And so many people have told me, oh, we have this where I come from, and I'm like, you're from Assam. So it's, the women have it in their hair, in a pin, I'm told, like a hairpin, and the men wear it in their lungis, and then while they dance and perform during Bihu, I'm told that they pull them out and begin to play as they dance together. I dream of experiencing that for myself someday. This one is made by Master Mohanlal, and it's an extremely rare, deep sound. Now, just to do a comparison, I'm going to take another one of the same maker, Mohanlal, in a completely different note, completely different style. Hold your ears. Alright, so that was another Morchang from Rajasthan by Mohanlal. And I need to lube up after that one. This is my lip lube, specially designed for mouth harp playing. I have one more from India, but I'm going to save that one for later. So before I finish, you're going to remind me to play the one from Tamil Nadu called the Mursing, okay? Everybody got that? I'm going to break up a second and just do something a little bit different. It's called the nose flute. So this functions on the same principle of the mouth harp as well, that the bigger your mouth, the deeper, the smaller your mouth, the higher. And the way it works is like a sports whistle. If you blow into it, it goes over a chamber, and that chamber is what makes it, whistle. Blow into a beer bottle, and if it's an empty, it'll be deep, and if it's half full, it'll be high pitched. So same principle with this. And if I roll my tongue a little bit, you get the little ball in the sports whistle. Okay, jumping back into the melodic feel, because that was a little powerful. The Nepali Morchunga are some of my favorite ones for melodic playing. And others are the Ukrainian drimba. In Ukraine, in the Carpathian mountains of western Ukraine, the drimba is made and played by the Hutsul people. And these very diminutive in size, very small little mouth harps. I have two here from two different makers. This is maker Shatruk and this is maker Vanjarak. On my page, World Harps, Mouth Harps from around the world, for the last couple of months I've been telling a running story on World Harps Wednesday that I've been explaining my journey walking up into the mountains to a village where Hutsul drimbas have traditionally been made, to meet these two makers. And so it's a weekly story that's been continuing. It's almost done. I have two episodes left of it. And Vanjarak has passed away a few years ago. There will be no more drimbas made by him. Shatruk has also ceased production. And so both of these are extremely rare instruments currently. End of this particular generation of the elder drimba makers. So I'm going to play these. And another one. And I'm just going to give you a little demo of both of them. It's okay. Please don't bother. Thank you. So as you can hear, two mouth harps from the same village sound extremely different. They look a little different in shape, but the same sort of build. Both makers, when questioned about each other, Shatruk completely dismissed Vanjarak. He makes horrible mouth harps, and Vanjarak was like, he doesn't know however it was that they explained it to me, that was the attitude. The attitude is absolutely worthless, is the competition. And I thought that to be quite fantastic, because in such a small town, obviously, when the other person who makes these instruments is your biggest competitor, you either learn to coexist, or you sort of block it out. And neither of these two makers, I travel the world to meet mouth harp makers, and I am fortunate to have the opportunity to sit in each workshop and watch them produce a mouth harp from start to finish, most makers that I meet. And Shatruk wouldn't allow me to see his workshop at all. Vanjiraj let me step in the next morning just to look inside, and that was it. So they were very secretive of their techniques, which is, it's a mouth harp. Every mouth harp has its own particular way of being made, and each maker has its secrets, and I've learned some fabulous secrets of technique from different makers who have told me, this never goes on social media because this is my trade secret I'm showing you. You don't tell anybody. And that's something to be acknowledged. But then there's the point of, no, I won't even show you. So that's also something to be respected and admired, because each maker does this for what they do in their life. So it's a very noble job. I admire it very much. I have thousands of mouth harps in my possession that I've acquired from all these different makers. So, sticking to Ukraine, one of my favorite makers is Alexander Dirnavoy. I got these in the same trip in 2013. He made one for me, which I watched him make, and one more for the World Harps Collection. And I never sold it. It's mine. This year I finally got a package received recently of about 10 new mouth harps from this maker. I've yet to do an unboxing. This is melodic, but warm and rich. Now I have a lot of mouth harps from Ukraine because there are a lot of makers, and most of the makers in Ukraine are absolutely excellent, some of the best in the world. One maker that I have is named Pijov, and I play these particular mouth harps with my band Third Pulse when I want to play what we call breath pulse. We are a band of didgeridoo, mouth harp, and beatbox, and we play organic trance. So when we really, really, really get rolling, here's one that I play. And I've got a little doodad here, which is kind of fun. Let's see, am I going to play C or D? Which one do you like better? Low one? A high one? Take a vote. Anybody? Low, okay. So I was at a friend's house in France, and his grandfather was a sculptor, a welder, and artist, and in his grandfather's workshop I found just a piece of junk and another piece of junk, and then I found out that they kind of just hold my mouth harp quite perfectly. So it makes it really easy when I'm playing a track for 15 minutes with my band, cringing, holding my hand like this. It really makes it easier to hold. Okay, are you ready for some power? Again, this is illustrating the vast range of mouth harps. These are four different makers from the same country, and they're completely different instruments. I'm going to do a quick shot on the higher one. I can't play fast enough on that one. You get the idea. All right. So check out Third Pulse if you're interested. THIRDPULSE. We are hitting Europe in a month. Heading to France, and then in a month after that, we have with the band concerts scheduled in Italy, France, and Germany. So Third Pulse 2022. We're super excited. I've got some solo concerts, some solo workshops as well, and I've managed to work out so that the band will also play at these festivals and other festivals as well. So yes, I'm excited. Moving on, I don't know how long I've been up here already. Wow, it's more than half an hour. Time flies. Are you guys enjoying it? All right. I'm not going to be able to play every single country worth of mouth harp that I have in my personal collection. And this time that I have here, I could probably sit up here for 2 hours. But this little set right here, you see, all beautiful and shining in the light, is from Estonia, and these are some other personal favorites that I use with the band. It's a maker named Priit Mopel, and these are tuned to every scale. They come chromatically. I don't keep the the sharps because frankly I don't use them much. But I have here an entire diatonic set, and I'm going to start with the very lowest, which is pretty crazy. One more demo of that in the mid-tone. Here's a C, that was a A0. This is the C. No, this is E. E will work. And I'm going to choose one even higher just because I want to keep it moving. I have too many that I want to play to keep going on for too long in each one. So here's an A, which is 2 octaves above. This is an A2. finger stop technique. And seeing as my blood is boiling right now, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna keep on that same sort of energy, and I'm gonna jump straight ahead to the morsing, okay? This one is the type of mouth harp that I really truly learned to play on. This mic sounds so much better. Morsing is the kind of mouth harp that I really developed my own playing style. As I mentioned, growing up as a teenager in Anjuna, I heard a lot of influence around me, electronic music. And so this was the kind of mouth harp that I used to play only. And I used to only play super fast, super high, super hard. Melodic playing, breath, reverb, the rolling breath. All of these are recent additions to a style as I started really paying attention to other styles of playing rather than the only style that was in my head and in my heart. There's one additional point that this particular mouth harp can do, and I love it for it. It's called the draw start. And the draw start is when a mouth harp is slightly offset outwards and when the tongue is nicely beveled, that it functions like a harmonica, and I can play mouth harp without touching the damn thing at all. So, as I've been going less into that and more into concepts, even my style of playing, how I used to play, has evolved, and I don't find myself falling straight into that particular category anymore. For many years, I have always believed that I have been incapable of playing the same thing on a mouth harp twice. And when my band first got together 5 years ago, we wanted to shoot a music video, and we got a videographer who said, great, so give me a track, and then we'll record it, the music video, to that track, and then I'll merge the two together. And I was like, stop. You want me to do what? You want me to play something live in front of a camera, and then you expect me to have the exact same thing that's gonna sync up with your particular, the video exactly as it needs to be? I said, I'm not even gonna go there. It's impossible. I can't play the same thing twice. And it's true. Every single thing that I do, every moment of what I'm doing is improvised. It comes out in that present moment. However, 2 years ago, I started my own Instagram and Facebook pages, Neptune Chapotin Music. And that was very enlightening for me to put together a music page, because then I started actively filming myself, actively recording moments on the beach, in the sunset, on the plateau, wherever I felt like it was a beautiful location that I felt inspired to make some music. And then I'd sit there editing, and when you're posting on Instagram, it loops and loops and loops and loops and loops until you're ready to post that story. And sometimes I would pay attention to something that I just played, and I'd be like, wow, that's really new, I've never done that before, that's amazing. And then I'd go ahead and try to post it, and I was like, wait, this looks familiar. And then I realized that I posted the exact same thing 2 weeks ago, which in my head is something completely new. And so as a musician, it's actually been really helpful for me to listen to myself, because I recognize patterns, I recognize grooves, I recognize sort of trends within my music. So if I, pick up a mouth harp and I do the that's something that I've discovered that I do, and so I've started developing on that as a track, and maybe that's the beginning to an album someday. As of now, I've never recorded any sort of music that I can release, other than my YouTube channel. There's stuff from many years ago up there if you want to check it out, Neptune Chapotin Music. So I'm going to have a look over here and see if there's anything that I want to present to you before I start actually showing you a few very rare and special instruments, mouth harps, that I brought along with me today that I have never played publicly. Okay, just a couple here. One that I'd like to demonstrate from Belarus, only because I sat and watched the maker grind this with power tools out of a flat plate of stainless steel for 7 hours to produce this one instrument. This maker's name is Hatskevich, spelled with an X at the end of Hatskevich. The Hungarian maker Zilagi has come up with a design that's quite interesting. This one is called Choir, and it's cut inside down the whole length of it to create a void, and when played it sounds like it has multiple voices. Hungary, Austria, Slovakia, and Bali were the first countries that I visited where I had chances to meet mouth harp makers in 2010. The first mouth harp maker that I ever met was a maker in Bali of a gengong, which is, in my little box, a very rare bamboo mouth harps that I brought along tonight. So I'm going to come back to the gengong in a minute, but I can give you a little demo on one from Spain, from Galicia, northwestern Spain. Also good for melodic playing. And in the same geographical region, I'm trying to kind of go with some sort of a flow here. By the way, that was called a trompa in Galicia, and this one is a marenzano. This very beautiful shape is from Sicily, and it's set into the center of it. It's like clamped the tongue into in a hole in the middle of the mouth harp. The Sicilians hold a mouth harp like this, facing, so it cups, so they can hear it properly, and they put their elbows more together and like holding like a teacup, played like this. There's a very popular folk song called La Tarantella, and I'm not going to try to play it because I don't know it, but it's something that when I go to Sicily in this coming June, July, I'm definitely going to ask somebody to help me to teach me the Tarantella, because it's a beautiful, beautiful rhythm. And this maker, Alaimo Giuseppe, when I went first to Sicily in 2011, my mother and I rented a car, we went together and drove across the island to meet the last traditional mouth harp marenzano maker of Sicily, who was at the time, I think, 87 years old maybe. I think he passed away at 89. I bought 6 pieces. I've sold a few of them. I have just a couple left. And this is the one I've kept for myself. It's a melodic little beauty. And here's the demo. While I'm at it, going into some of these rarities, actually, go for this one. When I was in Austria, a friend took me to a museum in a very little village in northern Austria that traditionally is a center of mouth harp making. And at one point of time, around the turn of the last century, there were about 100 makers in this one village, because there's a lot of ore in the hills and a lot of source of metal, a lot of blacksmithing going on. And when I went in 2010, there were only 3 makers left. One was making completely by hand, one was making by machine, and one was making by combination of hand and machine. And I never did bother to meet the one who was made by machine, because I didn't find the mouth harps to be worthy of much. But now that I think of it, I wish I had gone. If I would go back to Austria, I would definitely try to at least see the production line. It's fascinating to be able to see how they go ahead and make, albeit, much lesser quality mouth harps, to the point that mouth harpists who know how to play typically don't want to play those. It's definitely a point to note and understand about it. He took us to a museum, this friend, that was at one point of time known for the fact that women, the household, all the men had, I believe, died, and the women kept going the tradition of the family's mouth harp or Maultrommel making business. And so the mother, the daughters, etc. And so that house became known as the women's mouth harp making house. And that eventually, that all stopped, and the house fell into disrepair, and they found inside all of the tools and all of the materials and everything that was needed to make mouth harps. Frames already bent, tongues already cut. Every single phase of the production of mouth harp making was there and intact in this house. So the town decided to turn this place into a cultural heritage and established a museum, cleaned it up, renovated this beautiful old home. And in the museum, they had kept all the different steps of the mouth harp making process on display. Now, the friend that I went with was one of the people who had actually, he was the main driving force behind getting this recognized and getting it established as a museum in this town. And as a friend and I, as we were traveling, and we looked at this little basket of completed mouth harps, and he let us try a few of them, which is something you don't do in a museum. We were like, wow, this is really, really, these are amazing. And then he went ahead and he said, look, I just can't absolutely do this to everybody, but I know how much it means to both of you. You may each choose one of these out of the museum. And they know that that family stopped production over 50 years before the time that I was there. This was in 2010, so this is easily 65 years old. And it's a traditional Maultrommel from Möll in Austria. I don't play it very much, I don't play it very hard. It's an antique, and there we have it. Now, speaking of antiques, the Smith brothers, I believe, the Smith manufacturing mouth harp maker, were produced in England and then immigrated to the US and way back when, and then started producing mouth harps which were at the time stamped England, Smith on the sides, started producing them in the US and then dropped England. And I think this is 1800s and 1900s. And I was at the North American Mouth Harp Festival in 2009 or something. And there's a raffle. And people donate things to the raffle, and then everybody buys tickets and puts the tickets in the paper bags, And then we get to keep what it is. And this is an original Smith, England, which means it was made before the time that the Smith brothers started producing it in the US. When I got it, well over a decade ago, it was well over 100 years old. So this is truly history. And listen to it. That's about as youthful and as mature as it gets, I feel. Okay, now jumping ahead, this is the Smith Mouth Harp from England, which got in America. Because we're going on size, everyone loves to watch me play this one. This is from Nepal by the maker Enoch. Okay. A few more teeth type of mouth harps, and then I'm going to jump into the bamboo ones. Everybody's doing okay? Yeah? Still as equally fascinated as you were in the beginning? All right. So, here's a little mouth harp. It's a 2-in-1. This one's made in Vietnam. Use this mic, it's easier. One second. Trust me, it took me a lot of doing to learn how to do that. But then I found out that actually I didn't need to do all the crazy jumping. This one is made by Glazurin from Russia. It's a 2-in-1, and this is tuned to D and then F, I think. It's a third apart. Listen to what happens when I play both at the same time. Just feel the reverb. So that happens when there's a dissonance between the two notes. And if you play, for example, a mouth harp in a C and a D, there's a particular frequency of the pulsation of that dissonance. And then if you play 2 notes apart, 3 notes apart, etc. So that's something really lovely to be experimenting with. I recorded a video last year with 2 different mouth harps in my hand, switching back and forth. I'll be posting that sometime, so check on the music page and you'll hear it. All right, now last one for the multiple harps here. Seeing as we're on that trend, as I said, I'm trying to keep things together. This one is from Vietnam, and it's 5 mouth harps in one. Like a little pocket synthesizer. All right, now I'm going to jump away from the dental harps and go to the labial harps. These are played on the lips, just like the one that I played last. And this is a Dan Moi from Vietnam. This is the kind that I use to teach my workshops. It's the simplest one to play on the lips. And it's made out of a single cut piece of brass. But this was made in a workshop in Hanoi, close to Hanoi. That was a man who used to go to the mountains of northern Vietnam and acquire mouth harps directly from the makers, until the demand for mouth harps for Dan Moi in his shop got so great that he was unable to keep up with the production, so he started making them himself. And then he taught his cousin how to make them, and they taught the family how to make them, and they taught people how to make them. So now they have around 25 people producing mouth harps in their own spaces. In their time, they've got a shop and they've got the biscuits and the soda pop and whatever, and in the back they have, when there are no customers, they have a table, and there they're working and carving out these mouth harps. So this I was able to witness. When I was in Vietnam, along with nothing more than a clue of the name of the village, I was able to rent a motorcycle and head up to the mountains of northern Vietnam, right near the Chinese border, gathering clues along the way. Didn't know anywhere where I was going, but I finally found a village that had not only one maker, but 10. And out of that, I met 3. Here's one. I'm going to switch back to this mic again for now. You hear how clean and sharp and delicate a Dan Moi is. two makers, same village. Here's another maker. And this one, I made it myself. It's my first mouth harp that I ever made, with the instruction and guidance of one of the makers. There you go. So, to wrap up here, I am going to just demonstrate a completely different part of the world, Southeast Asia. I'm not going to play all of these, I'm just going to show them a few to you, and I'm going to play a couple as well. Mouth harps from, for example, this one is Vietnam, and it's out of bamboo. Similar one, also from Bali. There's one from Cambodia. And back to the brass ones. This is from Thailand. And then we get into the final ones of the night here, which are the string pulled. Some are plucked with the fingers, some are plucked with a string. In Bali, this is called a genggong. So, Bali, Japan, some of these are exceptionally difficult to play. And circling back to Nepal, this is the Binayo. Also quite tricky to play. Here we go. And this one is the most peculiar one of all. It's not yanked with a string. It's not held by the body. It's held by the tip. It's held by the string. And it is the thumb holding the string that counterlevers the entire instrument and causes it to vibrate around the tongue, so to speak. go. I'm just pulling tricks out of my bag here. Okay, I promise you, last one for the bamboo. This one is from Java. It's tapped on the end rather than plucked across it. There we go. So, there's a tour of the world of some of the mouth harps in my collection. And thank you for paying such close attention to all the different kinds in here. I see your eyes shining, and that's really amazing to watch. This is actually the first time that I have ever performed so many mouth harps in one performance. And it's an honor to be able to present all of these. There's many, many more that I would love to demonstrate. If you want to listen to some more, come over to my table over there and I can play some that I don't have here on this table because there's certainly not enough time. I think it's been, I don't know, an hour and a quarter or something. I don't know how long it's been. To close up, I have a very, very, very special mouth harp that I would like to play for the very first time in front of others. And people often ask me, how did I get into the mouth harp? I was 12 or 13 years old. I was rummaging in a little basket in my mother's room, and I found a little tiny object that looked like a hairpin that I had seen many times, but never occurred to me to ask what it possibly might have been. And then one day I was looking at it, I was like, well, actually, what is this thing? And I looked at the shape and I thought, oh, that's interesting. It looks kind of like an apple core. You know, you like stick it in the middle of the apple and twist. But then there's this like piece of wire sticking out the end of it. Like, how do you get it into the apple? So I took it to my mom and she said, oh, it's a juice harp. And the mouth harp is also known as a Jew's harp or a jaw harp. And she called it a juice harp. And instantly I thought, oh, apple juice harp. Okay, but like, what do you do with it? And she put it to her teeth, and with a lot of excessive breathing, my mom demonstrated how to make a little sound, hyperventilating as she does. And I was like, wow, that is so cool, let me try. And she didn't want me to try it because she said, no, because you'll break your teeth. And I'm like, well, you're doing it. And so with dire warnings about how dangerous it was for teeth, which years later I would say, as long as you're playing a mouth harp safely and responsibly, and you brace your hand on your face, or somehow don't just lose yourself like I did twice when I chipped 2 teeth when I first started playing, a mouth harp can be something that actually can break a tooth, and I've done 2 of them. But little teeny tiny grains of sand, and I'm perfectly fine ever since. So that is why I teach mouth harp very carefully, and I make sure that if anybody actually tries to play, you don't just pull it back and whack a tooth. As with anything, you need to know how you're doing it. So I finally convinced her to let me try, and she showed me the basic sound, and I was instantly hooked. And over the years, so for that next couple of years, I had it on my desk. I was homeschooled, and I was caught one day playing it while I was supposed to be studying. And it got confiscated off the desk, and it got transferred to my shelf. Out of sight, out of mind, I completely forgot about it. A couple of years later, I was moving back to India. I was born in Anjuna, and I was 15 years old. We were coming on a one-way ticket back to India to base ourselves here and settle down in Goa. And my mom said, take nothing which you don't really need. So I went through everything in my room, and I found the little mouth harp. And I was like, wow, I played it. It was amazing. And then I thought, but mom said take nothing I don't really need. If I haven't played it in 2 years, then I must not need it. So I didn't take it. And then I missed it. A week later, I was in India without a mouth harp. And that was in December 98. And in 2001, I found one in a music shop in Sweden. Sorry, in a tourist gift shop in Sweden. And I didn't buy it because it was $5 entire. And I thought that was really, really prohibitively expensive. Little did I know that I'd be playing mouth harps at several $100s a piece, and having entire collections of them and using it as my instrument. So this little mouth harp was acquired by my mother in a bazaar in Afghanistan in 1969 as she hitchhiked from Paris to Kashmir on her first trip to India. When I asked her some years ago if I could keep it in my collection so that when I perform at places like this, I can demonstrate and tell the story because it's so significant to me. My mom was absolutely insensitive. She said, "You can have it when I'm dead. It's mine." So she flat refused and refused and refused, and it got to be the point where it was actually a point of contention between us. I'm like, "Mom, you don't play it. You just let it sit in a box. Like, let me actually enjoy it. Let me keep it safe. Like, it's yours, but let me keep it. Let me safeguard it." No. And then she lost it. And for about 5 years, she couldn't find it. She hid it from me. She couldn't find it. And during the pandemic, she got stuck at my sister's house and took the opportunity to go through everything that she had there. And she found it. And when I went to visit my family in November after 3 years of not going to the US, it was waiting for me. This is a chung from Pakistan. From Afghanistan. In Pakistan, it's also called chung. At the time, I needed to teach myself how to play. I didn't know what to do. And instead of trying to say A, E, I, O, U, or oink, meow, and plucking up and down and trying to discover all the intervals like I taught in my workshop, I had the Beatles song, "I Feel Fine," stuck in my head. And that guitar intro was repeating and repeating and repeating in my head on the exact same day that I picked up this mouth harp. So I left my mom's bedside and I took this thing away and I played and tried until I figured out how to play the guitar refrain of "I Feel Fine." And that's how I started to play the mouth harp. At the time I played it much slower. And then, of course, once you get better, you can add a little bit of breath percussion into it. Thank you very much. My name is Neptune. This is my personal collection that is very separate from the World Harps Collection. Whatever lands into my own personal collection stays in my personal collection. But if you'd like to have a look at some of the ones that are here, you're welcome to. Come find me at my table and get to know what I do. You can follow me on Insta at World Harps or neptunechapotin.music, and also my band Third Pulse. If you've taken any videos or photos and you want to post them, please do tag me. I'll be glad to share. So, thank you much.